Yo, what's up, YouTube? What's up, squad? We back at it. We got another video. Just something different today. We got soft white underbelly, Johnny Chain. I know. I seen this dude videos going around on YouTube, clips and all that. I've been seeing his clips, and plus, see right there on his shorts. But I actually like listening to this dude. He's he was a dude that came out of the prison system and changed his life over and became a devoted Christian. I also because he was, I think, Buddhism or something like that. Yeah, but we gonna. I'm not trying to get into the whole religious tip, but we just gonna get into the video. We gonna watch it. We gonna check it out.
Monterey Park, Alhambra area,
which is a predominantly
Asian community.
Even the street signs are in Chinese there.
Exactly. So I had both my parents. My father was, I would say my childhood was kind of like miserable, filled with distrust. My father was a drunk, alcoholic. My mom was Taoist Buddhist, so it was kind of ran like a dictatorship.
And you know what's crazy? I be always saying this sometimes. I never understood it, but when I seen like the movies and the interviews about these people that live overseas, like Sydney, Australia, Brazil, South Africa, the Middle Easterns, like all them places, they low key be saying in the UK, people be wanting to go to America and experience American life. But when they get to America, they like, oh, it's low key, it's low key different, but it's also kind of the same because they be getting put in these neighborhoods that's not well and not nice and all that, and they low key get treated like shit because they not from America. Yo, it's just sad, you know what I'm saying? And plus, people overseas have it way harder than people in America. I could bet you that. I really feel like that. Remember, because I ain't gonna sit there. I'm African American, right? But your ancestors got taken off their lands, put on a boat, and came to America because of a white man. Let's be real about that.
We were really young, and my dad would actually beat us, me and my brother, and my mom. I sent my mom to the ICU a lot of times, bunch of times. So it was very, very chaotic as a kid. And I think, grew up around that type of environment where there was gangs, drugs, violence. We're low income, not stereotypical Asian, but we didn't really have much money. We grew up around a lot of Hispanics.
Yeah, growed up in poverty too, yep. Talk your stuff, Johnny.
A lot of culture shock as well. Our parents are immigrants, so they didn't really, know how to fit in. So we kind of had to learn everything from the streets. When I was young, I had a very peculiar mindset. I trusted in myself a lot because I felt like I couldn't trust my parents. One time, I was 10 years old and I got jumped for the first time. Had my backpack stolen, had my shoes taken. I went home and my father asked me, "Where's your backpack? Where's your stuff?" And I said, I got jumped by 4 Hispanics, and he didn't believe me. He thought that I threw away my backpack. He thought that I wasn't trying to do good in school, so he beat me after that. So yeah, I kind of went through a lot with the beatings and a lot of trauma.
Yeah, that's crazy. Imagine you come home, you walking home and you get beat up by like 3 little Mexican kids outside your neighborhood, and then you tell your parents what happened, and they automatically think you just lying and you just this worst kid that they have, and they don't like you, and they low key treat you like the black sheep of the family. I'm saying it's messed up. It ain't cool, but somehow they, what's crazy? You could have a sibling that low key excelling better you academically. You could have a sibling that look better than you, one that's taller than you, and they'll love them. They'll treat them with the utmost respect. They won't. You wouldn't even hear them getting whooped or yelled at. But it's always you. When you come out, the parents just look mad. They don't want to be around you. They ready to post pictures of your siblings and all that. It's fucked up. And I said what I said. I ain't sorry for saying what I say.
Well, and so at the age of
It's
12
fucked
years
up.
old, I actually joined a gang.
But you know one thing these people be saying, in the older people, they be saying, oh, I don't love one kid more than the other. I love both. But you treat the other one with more respect than you treat the other one. Okay.
I joined the Watchings, the Chinese triad type of gang out in that area. Very big gang.
So these are Asian gangs.
Yes, a lot of Asian gangs out there. We're very incognito, hush hush, tight lip, but they do exist. And so I joined that at 12 years old. And a lot of people ask me, why would you join that? Why would you join a gang, at the age of 12? And a lot of people will say it's probably due to, their broken home or broken family or drugs or violence, just the environment. For me, particularly, in my opinion, I noticed that
I'm not from LA, but I'm from Texas. I don't know anybody from Texas that's a gangbanger, and I never seen no gangbangers in Texas. So when people come commenting, oh well, gangbangers actually is in Texas, it's everywhere. Texas is a big city. I don't know, LA probably more smaller than Texas, but yo, I never seen a gangbanger. I never seen a middle-aged man wearing all blue or all red. You low-key look weird if you doing that. I'm just saying, I didn't grow up in that, but I could see because he's from there. He's from LA. So if I was in LA and I was born there, I probably would have been doing the same thing he doing, but I wasn't. And plus, it's kind of a good thing I had people around me that what I experienced a lot and I seen a lot. I didn't want to be nothing like that. So that's why I stayed. I never found it cool to try to join groups and all that and try to act tough. I never did.
it stemmed from trusting and believing myself. When I was young, I thought that if I did everything I wanted to do, I would be happy. So having fun, going out with gang members, stuff like that, I thought was really fun. And the things that I didn't want to do.
And they actually became like his real family. He was getting more love from the outside than he was in his own household. I can already say that. I can feel it. He just said his dad would beat him because some Mexicans jumped him and stole his backpack and shoes. And his dad was an alcoholic.
Which is, exercise.
That's why I don't like people that drink. You could literally sit there and I want y'all to do. I'm telling you, stereotype would work. Y'all could literally look at a person. He could say hey to you. It's cool to say hey, but don't sit there and try to hold a conversation with that person. Or if that person asks you, oh, hey, you got $1 or something, let me hold $1. Let me get a lighter. Let me get a cigarette. Just keep walking and act like you didn't hear him. Act like you got some in your ears.
Studying, doing homework, I didn't do because I thought if I did everything I wanted to do, I would be happy.
Because you don't know what them people using that for, actually.
And the things that I didn't want to do, I didn't do because I didn't think it would make me happy. So I looked at the gang life and it started at the core of my heart. I really wanted to be a gang member. I looked up to those people, and so I joined that type of lifestyle. 3 months into it, at the age of 12, I caught my first case. And that was originally a kidnapping / robbery, but they dropped the charges down.
At 12 years old.
At 12.
Yeah, because you was young.
And
so
ended
you're
up
probably going to do most of your time in juvenile until you get a certain age.
It was with a group of people, of course, but ended up catching the charge for dissuading a witness for the benefit of a gang. So ended up going to YA, California Youth Authority. I was at SRCC first, and then caught a couple fights in there, got written up. They call it level Bs, and then ended up going to Fred C. Nellis YA. And I was 12 years old. They gave me 4 years. And when I was in YA, I learned a lot of like it cultivated the mindset to believe in myself even more. I really trusted myself because I had seen rapes, I had seen murders, I had seen stabbings, fightings. I learned how to fight there.
You know what society bring on you? They say, "Oh, you gotta trust yourself. You gotta believe in yourself. You gotta do all this. You gotta have faith in yourself and all that."
They call it
But
gladiator.
let's be real. Some people that trust in themselves too much. I'm just one person. I could know my flaws. I could know my weaknesses. I don't trust in myself too much to where I believe everything I do ain't gonna be a mistake or a mess up or an accident. I'm just like that. I don't know about y'all. Y'all probably believe and y'all probably put yourself on the highest pedestal when it comes to it, but I can't. Trusting in myself is what got me here in the first place. Hey,
Theater school for a reason. You know, you fight a lot. And I learned like the 2 second takeoff rule, meaning if you feel disrespected within 2 seconds, you have to handle it, whether it's stabbing them, fighting them, beating them up. Otherwise, you'll be labeled a punk, excuse my language, a bitch, a level.
yep, that's everywhere. You got to. That's everywhere. Somebody mean mugging you and looking you down and probably talking behind your back, bro. You got to. You got to get off on it. But I don't condone violence.
Stuff like that. So, you know, I did 4 years there, and it was really, really traumatic. And I get out, you know, 67 days, 2 months and a week. I catch my second case. This time I'm an adult. They try me as an adult. It's 2 counts of assault with deadly weapon. Again, it was supposed to be a robbery and attempted, but they dropped the charge down. I pled out. They gave me 10 years, 85%, so 8 and some change. So yeah, I get to prison and it's a whole nother ball game. It's first off, I'm Chinese, so being there, we were outnumbered. It really was a racial thing, whereas in YA, it was more of gangbanging. It was a little bit of race, but you had to represent your colors, represent your flag, represent your people. But when you go to prison, you have to drop your flag, you have to drop everything, and you have to represent the other car or the race, right? So in there, I had to calm down because I was a YA baby. I didn't know how to program. After about a year, I learned how to program the rules, the regulations, and everything, and I was able to really start to kind of function in prison. You know, I went through a lot of depression, so I had seen some counselors in there. You know, I'm just being honest. Like, I was able to get my GED. I was able to get anger management, counseling, and everything looked on the up. But there was one thing that I really couldn't get rid of, and it was this emptiness and this void I had felt inside of my heart.
Yep.
No matter what I did, I really couldn't overcome this emptiness and this void. And it didn't matter what I did. You know, I just always felt this sadness and feeling inadequate as a human being. And so, you know, some of the...
I mean, for people that don't feel love, don't feel like they got nobody to talk to, don't feel like they got nobody to confide into, I actually understand that. Everything he's saying, everything he's saying about the empty and void part, I low-key feel the same way. But you know, it's...
The older homies, the people in there, the people who kind of like represent us, we usually look to them for advice. So one of the older guys, some old Chinese dude, he's like, bro, you should start reading, you know, and working out and kind of get your mind off of things, because he noticed that I was kind of like an overthinker. And so I started reading. I read the Quran in there front to back 3 times, read the Bible in there front to back 2 times. And you know, it didn't really do anything for me, honestly. So I get out after doing my stretch. I parole out of CRC Norco, and I meet my mom, you know, and she didn't really visit me much. She's an older lady. She didn't know how to navigate the correctional facilities and stuff like that, so she didn't really visit me. But I noticed a difference in my mom. You know, she had this this inner peace about her that I really didn't understand, because mind you, she has not just me, but my brother, 2 kids in prison who were incarcerated. My brother did also 12 years. And she was still married to my father, her husband, who was still an abusive, alcoholic person. she still lived in Section 8. She still had, all that trauma and stuff like that. But she had no circumstances to be happy, but I realized that she was happier than I was, And so I asked my mom, Mom, why are you so happy? What changed? And then she mentioned church. And at that time, honestly, it's like I rolled up the windows in the car. I was like, I'm not trying to hear about that, Mom. I'm not. I don't believe in God. We're raised Buddhist. I'm good. So she said, fair enough. She didn't push. She didn't say anything. She just let me be. So as I got out, I had that heart that I wanted to still do better and do good. I had lived my whole.
I remember when I was younger, I used to beg my mom to let me go to church with my grandma and all that. Sometimes I ain't gonna sit there and say I went to church. I never really went to church. I'm probably the laziest Christian. I'm keeping it real. I never went to church. I remember one time I was at church, I asked my grandma, can I get baptized? But I never did. She never really gave me a real answer on why I didn't get baptized, but I knew since my older sibling got baptized, I wanted to get baptized. Just so I can get closer with God, you know what I'm saying? It's going to sound corny what I say, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's my channel. Bro, I used to be in school, right? And I low-key used to bring my Bible to school. You know how crazy that is? Bringing your own Bible to school, your personal Bible that should only be read at home. Bringing it to a public place. And especially around kids that probably don't even believe in the same religion as you. Every time I think of that, that low-key kind of messed me up inside. Because... And one time I used to talk to this teacher at my old school. He used to be a Christian, but he stopped believing. And I was looking at him like he was crazy. But as I got older, I started to understand why some of these people don't believe and not have faith no more, or just go in a different path, or probably turn a different religion. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you just feel like, oh, God don't listen to your prayers and all this. That's how I feel sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I'm human. Like I'm a sinner. I'm not no redemption person. I don't got no type of redemption arc. I'm a sinner. Everybody a sinner. If you go back to Genesis, the first, Adam and Eve. We all come from Adam and Eve, right? So they didn't listen to God and ate from the forbidden tree of knowledge, and the sins just passed down from generation.
Life doing bad things and following myself, trusting myself. So I wanted to get a job. I wanted to help my parents out, and I tried to look for a job, but as a 2-strike felon with a violent crime, it wasn't happening. I applied for even like McDonald's, FedEx, UPS, all the places that they say they hire convicted felons. And I wasn't showing any love, honestly. But immediately I went back to the streets. I started to sell drugs again. And at that time, I was still on parole. So it was very risky looking over my shoulder. And I just felt like this was not something I could make a career out of. And so, I devised this plan to actually rob a drug dealer, because my thinking at the time was, if I'm selling all these drugs, it's risky. But if I just rob someone who sells all the drugs, then I would inherit and gain a lot of money. So it was me and a friend of mine. He was like my road dog. And I told him, hey, bro, let's rob this dude. He's a well-known drug dealer in our area. Anyway, I told him I was going to go to the right of the car. He was going to go to the left of the car. And, when I stepped to go to the right of the car, my friend stepped in front of me. So naturally, I went to the left of the car. As I'm walking up on the driver's side of the car, I hear 3 gunshots, and when it rang out.
Wow, and that wasn't even for his friend. Imagine if his friend didn't go to the right of the car. Imagine if his friend didn't go there. This dude wouldn't even be alive today. Sometimes they say, oh, that's probably just I don't know, but that's...
I actually assumed initially that it was my friend who shot the dude. I was like, damn, you didn't even give him a chance. Well, whatever, it is what it is. We'll roll with the punches. We're very cold like that. But actually, the car sped off, and I realized it was my friend that had gotten shot. And, he was just laying there. I remember vividly, like, the sounds, the noise that he was making, and he was dying. And there I'm holding him, and he died in my arms, and yes, every time I think about that, I get a little emotional, but, I that moment was very pivotal in my life because I had thought about it, like, that was supposed to be me. Actually, if I went to the right of the car, I probably wouldn't be here today. So, as I seen that, I started to really think in my life, like, I could feel death around the corner. It didn't matter what I would do. I felt like I was on borrowed time. I felt like I was going to die soon. And 3 days after that, I had received a letter from one of my friends, just a childhood friend. He grew up with us in the projects in Section 8. He gave me a letter that was really eerie. He's like, think about me when I'm gone, and just saying these types of things. And 3 days after that, I find out that he had committed suicide in jail. So there was death all around me, and I was feeling that. It was creeping up on me. And miraculously, my mom actually, a couple days after these incidents had happened, her car had broken down, and she was like, "Hey, Johnny, like, I need you to take me to church." She's a translator. She was very, like, involved at the time. And so I said, yeah, there's no harm in that. I want to help mom out. I had spent all my life, being bad to her, so I wanted to treat her well. So I took her to the church. But I told her very specifically, I don't want to be evangelized. I don't want to talk to the pastor. And so when I get there, I remember this pastor runs out, and he's like, "Hey, Johnny, good to see you, and why don't you come on in for some food?" And they had made, like, some black bean noodles, and that's actually my favorite dish. I love eating black bean noodles. For those Asian Sundong people out there who know what I'm talking about,
Black bean noodles.
It's like a delicacy for us. I grew up eating that stuff, so I was like, what's the harm in eating? But I told the pastor, I don't want to hear about God. I don't believe in God. I'm Buddhist, etc., etc. So we get there, and I remember he sits down, and after we finish eating, he asks me two questions that really kind of shocked me. He said, "Are you a sinner? And do you know what sin is?" And at that time, I felt a little angry, to be honest, because I felt like that was a loaded question. Like, who's not a sinner? We're all born imperfect. We're all flawed as human beings.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, who's anybody that sit there and say, "Oh, I'm saved, I'm redeemed, I'm not a sinner"? Okay, keep believing that. It's going down from all the way down to your lineage, from your ancestors to your previous ancestors. Come on now, like, who's not a sinner? Anybody that said, name me one perfect person that used to walk this earth or walking this earth right now. The only person y'all could probably say is Jesus.
We've all made, bad decisions in our life and stuff like that. So I kind of got mad, and I told him, yeah, of course. And he said, "So what do you think about sin?" And I said, "Well, sin is when you do something bad, and then,
And it's also kind of messed up. People that, like, family, friends, and all that, they used to low key try to scare me with, "Oh, you gonna go to hell, you gonna burn, you gonna burn forever and etern in hell." I ain't gonna lie, that used to scare me. I used to wake up sometimes and just try to pray, and I'm not saying nothing funny. I used to try to woke up and try to pray and just ask God to forgive me for all the little bad things I did. If it was imagine this, in the old Bible, in Moses, when he wrote the testimony for God, it says, "You shall not steal, because steal is like killing. You will burn." Like, all that, if you kill, you'll burn, you'll go to hell. If you steal, you'll go to hell. Like, all this. So I used to imagine telling a 6 or 7 or 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid that took a little piece of candy from out the store. That's like what? And if killing is like, and if stealing is like killing, then you got, like, what? You already got a lot of bodies on you. So I'm not going to heaven. And you know what? I said what I said. I'm not trying to scare nobody, but I'm not tripping on none of that. I'm a sinner at the end of the day. So if I don't enter the kingdom of heaven, it is what it is. I don't trip on that. But I know I'm a genuine person. So, hey.
Against God, or you shoot people, stab people, lie to people, that's a sin. And he said, not so. And that was the first time that it kind of like, he shook my world upside down. I was like, what do you mean? This is kind of weird, because that's what I always learned. Even though I wasn't Christian, Catholic or anything like that, I knew that doing bad things it's a no-no. You don't do that. But he explained to me that sin was actually twofold. The first thing is, it's trusting yourself above the word of God. So trusting yourself more than God, that's what sin is. And number two, it was inheritance. So he explained to me the analogy of, you're Chinese, you didn't choose to be Chinese. You were born that way.
Yep.
Your father was Chinese, his father was Chinese, etc. It was passed down. Likewise with sin, it wasn't that you did anything wrong, but your father, Adam was evil, he was sinful, and then it passed down to us. So we were born as sinners. And at that time, it really made sense to me, because my son, he was like 4 years old at the time, and I always taught him well, hey, don't follow the way that daddy went, like, be good, respect your elders, etc., etc. Never taught him how to lie, steal, or do anything like that. But at the age of 4, he loved eating gummy bears. And I remember, like, he would always want gummy bears. If he could just live off of gummy bears, he would do it. But with the veggies, I told him, you have to eat veggies first, and then you can eat some gummy bears. But I would see him trying to hide the veggies, trying to take it to the little potty and throwing it in there. And, who taught him that, And he even got to a point where he would steal the gummy bears. He would scoot the little stool over, climb on top, reach at the top of the cabinet, pull out the gummy bears, and I caught him red-handed. I'm like, what are you doing, one day? And he was like, nothing, Dad, nothing, So who taught him that? I never taught him any of that evil stuff, but it was part of him. And it was something that was actually normal for him, for kids to rebel. And then he used the analogy of an apple tree, which really put it in perspective. He said, when you look at the seeds of an apple, where are the apples? But if you plant it, as it grows, it'll only produce apples. No matter how hard it tries, it cannot produce oranges or mangoes. Likewise, when you look at a baby, where's the sin? It's very cute, it's loving.
And another thing I heard, everything that the kid do from 6 all the way to how old when a kid get 16 or 17, all the sins of that kid is gonna be on the parent until the kid get a certain age, around 17, 18, let's just say 18 or 17. That's when the kid's gonna start carrying their own sins. So that's what I had to learn too. I had learned that at a young age. So,
but as it grows, as it matures,
and I did my own research,
all you see is sin. They start to lie, they start to cheat, steal, they can even murder, and so when I saw that, it really made a lot of sense to me as a person. And I was able to see that, we're just being normal. It's not that I did bad things and then I became a sinner. No, I was born flawed. I was born imperfect. And he had mentioned, you're an imperfect person trying to produce perfect results. Of course you're going to fall short. So that's why I had emptiness and depression and loneliness inside of my heart, because he was showing me that it wasn't these surface level things, but it was at the core of the heart, because everything is rooted in the heart, right? Everything came from the center. So I was trying to basically put a band-aid, like, I had anger, so I take anger management. No, if you peel back the layers of an onion, you'll realize that you'll get to the root of it, which was sin produces everything. And I started to realize, I was looking at it from a wrong perspective. So he said, it's okay, and then he used the analogy of like a car, and he was saying that there's a braking system in the car, and it must overcome the accelerator. Otherwise, if the accelerator overcomes the brake, we will crash, right? No one would drive that car, even if it was a Ferrari, because it has no brakes.
Yep.
Likewise, we are people who need to have self-control. If we don't have self-control and our desires are like,
Hey, but this the end of the video, y'all. I'm gonna upload a part 2 to this. Shout out my boy Johnny Chain. Keep doing your thing. Keep spreading your knowledge. Keep spreading the word of God. We out.